What's up, people? It's another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best quasi new metal adjacent podcast from two dudes who are really there. I'm one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM, Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, how is it going?
Oh, a lot better on this one.
We're doing better already. We're 30 seconds in. And joining us once again, our irregular regular from hailing from sunny Florida, Mr. Oriion Stevens. Oriion, thank you for joining again.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure, gentlemen. And it's not that sunny, but worth it.
It's
Well,
It's hot as shit, though.
it's hot. It's definitely hot. So this week we wanted to get Oriion on because he's Tim and I have joked about how old we are. Oriion definitely has his finger on the pulse of what's actually going on. So we wanted to get him on to talk about what is going on in the current new metal revival scene. We wanted to pick his brain on some of the sound trends, some of the bands that are maybe forgotten about the first time that now have become the biggest thing since sliced bread. Maybe some of the bands that everybody kind of liked that were now kind of forgotten about. Just to kind of pick his brain. So I guess, Oriion, I'll start with my first question. Um, how indicative is the Reddit new metal community of the actual new metal revival overall? Is that a microcosm? Is that
That
a
is a
fair representation?
Believe me,
Or
that is a microcosm. Sorry, I didn't
okay,
mean to. I didn't mean to talk over you. That's
no, no,
entirely
no.
my
Go
bad.
on, go on.
I've been involved with that Reddit community pretty closely. Not really as much anymore for various reasons, but for like the past like 5-ish years or so. I've known the owner, Sean. He's a really great guy. I think he's super cool. But it's just, you know how Reddit can be. A
Yeah.
lot of you kind of get the worst and best of humanity on that website, and I think that it's not really super indicative of like the overall new metal community as a whole because you have so many different sects like in like the modern new metal thing. You have your Instagram community, you have your underground community where there's like mostly CD traders and stuff like that and file hoarders and whatnot. You have like Kirk's little gang and stuff like that, his like crazy ass new metal moments in Twitter. Like that's an entirely different like sub community, and then you have the new metal preservation groups and stuff like that. So you can't really like look at one community and like judge an entire like movement because the new metal revival has gone so far that it's invaded like the hardcore scene, the beatdown scene, slam. Like we were just listening to that new Nine Dead cover of Limp Bizkit's Trust. You know, new metal is kind of reached like it's infiltrated the mainstream again like it did 20 plus years ago. It can't really just be, one community. Plus,
So
there's
that's
some
that's interesting
characters
to hear.
there.
Keep going.
No, there. I was just gonna say, man, there's some characters there.
Well, yeah, yeah, and well, music, especially the more, and I'm going to call it extreme to signify anything that is not mainstream hip hop, pop
Right, of
music,
course.
right? Like, it always attracts a unique type. Um, I, Tim and I were very curious to talk about like, so if Reddit is very much the surface level, right? And it's very Reddit, right? To use as a, I know you're not supposed to define a thing by a thing, but it's very Reddit in and of itself. I know you invited me to a Discord, which I can't keep up with, so I actually have snoozed it because I
Yeah.
got it's too much going on. But there's a very vibrant community talking about a lot of this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's tons of sub communities and a lot of like larger figures in the community. Like I was mentioning Holiday Kirk, and then there's Detox and Mythanatic who runs the new metal preservation. Like I help him run that. You know, the server you're talking about is called New Chord. That place died, and honestly, it's probably for the best that it did.
Oh,
Yeah.
shows you what I know. It's been so long.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. Everyone kind of moved on and everybody's got their own little communities and stuff like that. But yeah, new metal is like it's becoming like a whole like I don't know. What's the right word? There's a specific word I'm looking for that's escaping me at the moment. It's in the zeitgeist again.
There you go. There you go.
That's good enough.
I was telling Tim I'm 2 for 3 as far as the big four of new metal doing shows again. I saw Limp Bizkit a couple weeks ago. I just saw Slipknot on Saturday, and I was absolutely amazed at the size of the crowds.
Dude,
Limp
it's
Bizkit
insane.
was packed, and it was not the demographic I expected. When I last saw them in Atlantic City, it was all guys of my age, right? Some guys were there with their wives, some guys with their girlfriends, some younger people. The one that I just saw in I think it was like July 30th or something. It was packed and it was young kids, like preteen. I'm not here driving. My parents dropped me off. There was very, very young Zoomers. There was my generation there. There were people there of my generation with their kids. And there were even
That's
people older than
insane.
me. And I was like, I texted Tim. I said, dude, you got to see the demo here. Like I just stepped there looking around. Just I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it.
Well, that's what's keeping it alive, though, man.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're
Yeah,
selling out sheds.
I mean,
And then
it's
Slipknot.
wild. It's wild to think that, like, even I mean, even Fred said it himself. Like, I seen a video. He was on stage, like, 25 years ago, it was like this. I was never expecting it to be back like this. He basically said it on stage. So,
absolutely.
It was insane. And then I went and saw Slipknot on Saturday. I think the place was sold out. I'm pretty sure it was sold out. Tim and I were there. Tim and I were at the same venue for Pantera last year. This was standing room only. It was packed. And again, it was a very diverse demographic. Um, I saw more girls at this one show than I have seen in my entire life of going to hardcore metal shows, to the point where I was like, well, we have finally crossed that Rubicon. Like, it's arrived. I was speechless. But the funny thing, I will say, the funny thing about this Slipknot show was you can tell who was there who had only heard the most recent material.
yeah.
Because when they went into the stuff off the first album that's really grindy and really abrasive, like some of the demo stuff, the B-sides off Made, Feed, Kill, Repeat, there were people in the audience like, uh, what
Yeah.
what is
Dude,
this? Yeah.
they played like at the last show, one of my friends, Nero, sorry, I can't talk. They went to a Slipknot show and they played Scissors, Frail Limb Nursery, and Purity for the first time, like in
Yeah.
years, 20 plus years, I think. And they're back with the original jumpsuits and stuff like that, with like the original style mask. And it's very indicative of the like entertainment industry at large, because nostalgia bait is extremely popular and has been now for honestly probably since the pandemic, but even before that a bit. People really wanted like, and I'm not saying that it's entirely a coping mechanism. I really do think that, the shit that we had, back in the day was awesome. But people, I mean, if you really think about it, like who are still the biggest rock bands on the planet right now? It's the same ones that were popular when I was like in diapers,
Yeah.
like Corn, Stained, Linkin Park,
Metallica,
Breaking
yeah.
Benjamin,
Uh,
Chevelle,
yep.
Metallica, and it's all the like, and tons of new metal bands too, like even Mudvayne and Cold Chamber and Power Man 5000, they're selling out fucking like amphitheaters and whatnot.
Hmm.
You know, people really like to, cling to the past, and new metal is like the last massive cultural shift in music, at least in heavy music. I mean, because like of course like new wave of American heavy metal and metalcore was like dominating after that. But even then, like there was a certain point in the 2010s where you had bands like Of Mice and Men, Suicide Silence. There's other bands I can mention. Issues. They had a fucking turntablist. There were tons of bands like even all the way like 10 years ago introducing new metal elements into their music. That's still one of the most, you know, I don't know. It's like a cockroach. It could survive a nuclear fallout, man.
Well,
It just
I also think it's
continues.
that the people, to your point, Orion, the people who grew up listening to Slipknot and Korn, and that was what they first experienced music as, they proudly folded it as an influence to the stuff that they're making. And there's
Absolutely.
no sense of shame, because look, I was a kid. This is what I grew up listening to. And your point about nostalgia, I am convinced it's on a 20-year cycle. Right. So
Yeah.
when I was last listening to new metal, I was 21. Now it's over 20 years, but I'm in that demographic where I've reached the point in my life where I've got some disposable income. So I know
Yeah.
plenty of people who dropped $150 on actual seats, 3 rows from the stage, or they dropped on like the VIP parking and all that shit. Like, we have reached midlife where we should have disposable income to go back and get these sort of things. And that's why I appreciate some of the festivals that try and book like the nostalgia acts. But the nostalgia acts need to eventually move their way forward. Right? Like, you
Yeah.
can't book Black Sabbath every year and say, well, you need to experience Black Sabbath. No, okay, I get it. Black Sabbath influenced, I don't know, fucking Metallica. So now Metallica should be the headliner, and they influenced somebody else, and then they should be the headliner. Like, your nostalgia needs to move forward. When you keep it in a spot, you almost like encase it in ice.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, there's not really a ton of progression, which, you know,
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to progress when the same record has been in the Billboard for what? How many weeks now, Jay? We talked about this a
Oh my
few
God, the
episodes ago.
Black Album? It's
Yeah, I mean,
years, years.
people
yeah,
like what
and
they like, and it's never going
yeah,
to end. So,
and there's been times too where hybrid theories re-entered the Billboard, top 100 a couple times, especially after Chester's passing. Like it's just like insane to me how culturally relevant new metal has continued to stay.
yeah, I mean, and you think about it, like if you think about bands from like the 70s, like Pink Floyd, shit like that, they're still relevant today. And
Mm-hmm,
this
mm-hmm.
is 50 years later. This is, when Orion's in his 50s, you're still going to be talking about Follow Leader and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, you best believe it.
So so give me, if you wouldn't mind, Orion, share with us some of the trends that are maybe someone from Tim and I's demographic who experienced it the first time, some things that have been folded into this new metal revival that we might not have expected, or it might be a surprise to Tim and I. Like, what are some of the things where you as someone who understands the history, right? You do the historian stuff, stops and goes, huh,
Yeah.
didn't expect that coming.
I don't really think there's anything too out of the ordinary, although there is a massive resurgence of like Y2K aesthetics coming back.
Okay.
Like there's certain like aesthetics called like vector heart and metal heart and stuff like that, which is like the very flat, very geometric bold colors, with crazy typography that people like the Designers Republic who did like the Wipeout games and Aphex Twins album covers and whatnot, and a lot of that kind of stuff is starting to come back, and a lot of the geometric metallic abstract shapes and whatever. If you look to like kind of like it's kind of an insult saying quasi like new metal celebrity, but some of the like up and coming underdogs of the genre like Mad Kelly and stuff like that are kind of incorporating that aesthetic, and if you look at the music videos, a lot of people are playing in warehouses with the dingy color grading and people playing on rooftops and stuff like that like they used to do in the 2000s, like um
Well, couldn't you say that
it's
like Gary's album covers are kind of like that as well?
hey, will you look at that?
Oh, there
That's
it is.
yeah.
I love Memoridge. I love Gary's projects. I totally go listen to it.
I, I don't get how he has time to actually do anything else, because it seems like he's
I have
releasing a new
no
song, a new
idea,
EP,
dude.
a new album every week.
Yeah, it's fucking
Dude, he's
crazy.
he's prolific as hell. I have no idea. And he's got like two jobs at the moment too. So
And
I
he's
have
always
no
cooking.
idea, man. God bless that guy. Like, geez. But no, a lot of stuff from that era is coming back. It's not just new metal. A lot of people just really latch on to like just what things were in the past, you know. Uh what was I gonna say? Like people are like making like PS1 and PS2 style album covers. Like for an example, y'all know Static Dress.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They released a limited edition like version of their album Rouge Carpet Disaster that's styled like a PS1 game disc. And they have a freaking hold on. I have it actually. Hold on.
Okay.
That's like the I have an ADAT tape, which is the pitch shifter album,
I very
mini
yeah.
disc.
Oh shit. Okay. I mean they literally put out a freaking Game Boy game.
Oh, that's fucking
You
wild.
That is
know,
actually really cool, though.
it is dope. But the thing is, like, that just goes back to my point. Like, so many modern bands are capitalizing on the fact that a lot of people, who grew up listening to this stuff are now in their early to mid 20s and they're reminiscing about their childhoods when they had things like the PS2, the Game Boy, you know, technology was so much different. You had flip phones, with the sliding keyboards and stuff like that. And like think of like Ocean Grove too. They had the Flip Phone Fantasy album. A lot of people are using iconography from the past, apart from just the music to like sell their image and
The
whatnot.
aesthetic has
The
returned.
aesthetic is
Yeah.
returned as well, and it's Jinko is back.
So I went to a wedding, and one of the guys was there, a good friend of mine, my roommate Guzzy. He's been on the show. He's a high school math teacher, And he told me he had a student show up at one point who had on a pair of Jenko jeans. And he said he literally
Wow.
stopped. He stopped and he was staring. And he was like, I think, am I having a stroke? Like, do I smell burnt toast? Like, he couldn't believe it. And what really he couldn't believe is not only did this young man show up in Jenko's, everybody stopped him. All the other students were stopping him to tell him how cool his pants was and where did he get them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the aesthetic is coming back too, and like people are starting to wear the ball chokers again and spiking up their hair. Like, you know how many people I've seen walking around wearing baggy jeans and like 3XL t-shirts and stuff like that. You know,
I'm
that's
so
what's
glad the baggy jeans are coming back because the nut hugger
yeah,
look was not for me. I am a fat guy that's shaped too weird. I look
I
like
get
one of
it.
those turnips. It's not a good look.
People are
Tim,
Yeah,
wearing
no, the,
that in
the whole
Florida.
aesthetic is what?
People are wearing this stuff in Florida.
Dude, you'll see people riding bikes with like giant hoodies and like sweatpants on outside, dude. Like, it's crazy. I wear tank tops
Jesus.
most of the time, dude, and even then I had a heat stroke like a month ago.
Jesus Christ. Where in
forget
Florida
that.
again are you?
Orlando.
Oh, okay. So it is hot as shit there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the heat index was like 110 when I was on a job site the other day. It was wonderful.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man.
Jesus. So
Jay would
another.
melt.
My dad's in Florida, and he's always like, "Hey, when are you coming to visit?" I'm like, "I don't know, January 2nd." That's it. Like, middle of the winter. I'm only going to the middle of the winter. I'm not going down there and just being hot.
No, dude, it's
Orion,
not worth it.
what are some of the are there any like particular music like not I don't want to say tropes because trope sounds insulting,
Oh,
right?
I can
But
totally go into that too.
yeah, like let's talk about like the people who are trying to make music that's new metal influence. Like what are some of the catch, I guess, for lack of a better term, catchphrases, right? Or some of the things that have made a resurgence where, oh yeah, I'm doing this and it's not tongue in cheek. I'm doing this because I seriously like this and this is what I'm into.
So there's three main aspects to like a lot of modern new metal and new metal in general, and that's the riffs, the groove, and the fretboard patterns. Because there are certain chords and certain fretboard patterns that like are really indicative of like that new metal sound. Like a lot of people like playing drop B, drop C sharp, drop D most of the time, or like drop C, like System of a Down used. It's primarily like all like hammer on and pull off power chords. And like there's a particular chord that I call it the nostalgia chord, but it's a sus2 chord, which is essentially a fifth stacked on top of another fifth. So you have the root, the fifth, and then the ninth interval, which is the root of the note, a semitone up, and then an octave. So let's say, for example, what's a good song that utilizes sus2 chords? There's a lot of them. Linkin Park used those a lot. Like the main riff in Crawling has a lot of sus2 chords.
You get a lot of that,
Um,
and you get a lot of them at a lot of that in old hardcore too.
yeah, Trust Company as well. The Lonely Position of Neutral, those are everywhere. And like so many people are like just like making these slidey sus2 chord riffs because that's just kind of the early 2000s sound. You know, even in post-hardcore and metal bands, so many of those bands were using those, you know, and some modern elements have kind of like snuck in from like metalcore or whatever. A lot of people are doing like harmonic pick scrapes in the new metal, like during breakdowns and stuff like that. You know, I'm trying to think of some other ones, man. Turntables are making a resurgence for sure. You know, and also like there's like Sid Wilson samples, DJ Life samples, who is the DJ on Science by Incubus. Like other
We need to
turntable.
find that guy, Tim, and get him on. I would love to talk to him
Hell yeah.
Why?
because he was on that album, and apparently, they had a really bad falling out, and everything was kind of not whatever.
Dude, he caught an assault charge because he was so jealous of Chris Kilmore that he literally like assaulted the guy
Did
out
he
on the
really?
street, man. Yeah, look into it. He's not a
Well,
great dude.
everybody's got some skeletons. Look at the entire band of Crazy Town, right? Like, I mean,
Fair. Fucking rest in peace, Shifty.
yeah. Shout out to Shifty, yeah, and half that other band, right? The guitarist is dead. Somebody else died. Yeah,
No, that's horrible, man.
yeah,
Nobody deserves to die of drug addiction. Absolutely nobody. That's a horrible disease to have.
yeah. Not good. Not good.
But no,
Tim,
back
what
to
else?
what was I talking about?
You were talking about sus two chords and How that was being
Turntable.
used over and
Turntable.
over again.
Yeah. I was just gonna say this. A lot of the samples that the new metal DJs used back in the day, like it's very readily available. Like download SoulSeek, look online, look at Mega Links, look in Drive Links and stuff like that. Like even my the turntables from my band, good friend of mine, Captain Dugog Doug, he has like samples from so many bands. He's just got gigabytes of that. And it's readily available nowadays, so people can like emulate their favorite turntablists now.
Hmm.
That's a thing that I've seen popping up more.
What else, Tim?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
What do
What
I
else?
think trend wise is coming back?
Yeah, no, what no, what else what else can we pick Orion's brain with? We've asked
Oh,
about we've talked about fashion, we've talked about sounds. What else?
well, I mean, the one thing, I mean, we already did go into, but the look is definitely coming back where people like I seen a lot of people recently with like eye stuff going on with like what are them things? The lenses and shit. Like you're seeing a lot of that shit as well
Oh
too.
yeah. Also, like the eyebrow ring is like starting to come
Yeah.
into fashion again, which I'm
Oh man.
totally for that.
I can't believe that's making a return. I'm officially fucking old.
You're definitely seeing that shit come back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've still got my scars for mine. If you look really close, you can see them. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
Back in the day. Man, it's wild. I can't believe and I mean, let me talk about Jenkos, right? A pair of those is $120. $120 for a pair of jeans.
No, that's
That's not
ridiculous,
too
man.
bad though.
Go to Goodwill's, like go to thrift stores, man. Like I found like these I found these like these are Armani pants I got for $7.
Yeah, everybody was making big baggy shit back then. Like I remember I had a pair of polo, I had a pair of Ralph Lauren polo cargo jeans. And the bottom of the leg they had to
Interesting.
be 18s, if not 20s. And I'm like, why is Ralph Lauren doing this? But everybody did it back in the early 2000s, right, Tim? Like you couldn't get away from it.
Yeah, because they wanted to hit while the iron was hot. You know what I mean?
Right.
But now, I mean, who really does that now? Orthodox. I mean, they call themselves what? Big pants music.
Big pants metal. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of think that is a thing that dies quickly, though.
Could be. Could be. Or it's one of those things where it doesn't achieve escape velocity, to reuse Orion's term, get into the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's a constant in the quote unquote scene. Like it's like remember
Yeah.
Castro hats, Tim?
Oh
Castro
yeah,
hats had their moment where everybody had one, and it never
Never
really
heard of
got out
that.
into the major culture, but everybody rocked them for a good 10 years.
everybody had the snow version of it.
Yep. Yep.
You don't know what you don't know what they
I
are,
have
Ryan?
no idea what that is. I'm sorry, dude.
That's
Oh
hilarious.
man. We
So
gotta we
it's
gotta send Orion
base.
some links.
Yeah, please do. And I was
So it's
gonna mention it. Oh,
basically, I'm sorry, it's basically a hat that like looks like a beanie kind of thing,
what is
but
it
it's got a
called?
brim on it.
Castro hat. So think Fidel Castro.
Oh, okay.
It's the flat rounded, it's not a baseball hat. It's one solid stitch. I've actually got one upstairs somewhere. With a short
Oh,
brim.
okay. Never mind. I have one of those.
Again, everybody had one, but
Okay, yeah.
Orion, there
I
was a
always called
good
those military caps.
same thing. There was a good 5 years where you couldn't trip and fall at a hardcore show without hitting at least a dozen dudes that had one of those things on.
Oh
Plus, the
hell
baggy
yeah!
clothes thing was like, because like Corn and stuff got their start opening for like Sick of It All and whatnot or whatever. The baggy clothes thing is like a remnant from hardcore, and like a ton of hardcore and metalcore bands nowadays, like you were talking about the ones on Ephira Records and stuff like that, like Balmora and like Orthodox and whatever. They're wearing the big baggy clothes, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And
Orion, you just touched on a very sore topic that a lot of hardcore fans will not admit. The fact that the big baggy jeans shit was prevalent in the hardcore scene in the
Oh
late
my
90s
oh
and
yeah,
early
god,
people
aughts.
can't
yes.
pretend that the
VOD,
hardcore
Mike,
scene also didn't have its own weird trend. Like people wearing backpacks to shows and stuff. That's still a thing, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'd go if I go to a show. I have a backpack.
Mike Kennedy, the guitarist of VOD, actually talked about, I think it was the Meet Meep interview where he said, yeah, we were sponsored by Jenko. I had a
That's
couple pairs of
awesome.
Jenkos.
That's so
Like
rad.
the hardcore kids don't want to talk about how, yeah, that was part of the scene. Big jeans were part of the scene. And if you follow Return to the Pit, the photographer from New England,
Oh, cool.
he shows pics from shows in the early 2000s where, again, ball chain necklaces, the ball chain, big shirts, big pants. Everybody's wearing
Yep.
God, they were wearing, what were those shoes called? Etnies. Everybody's
Osiris.
got Etnies on, or Osiris. Like, it was
Puma.
just, yeah, it was just
Oh
part of the
yeah, Puma
scene.
too.
You got to remember though, the hardcore scene in the late or in the mid to late 90s was also influenced a lot by hip hop. So you had the hip hop
Yeah.
elements coming
Yeah.
through back then too. And then you have to remember hip hop was prevalent with nu metal back then too.
Absolutely. And there was a ton of
So
crossover too. You had bands
yeah.
like Candiria doing that sound almost seamlessly to the point where you could call them either genre.
Yeah, I mean
At least in my
Biohazard.
opinion.
I was going to ask Orion that as our resident Zoomer
Oh
authority.
God. Please don't call
Do
me
you consider
that.
Biohazard hardcore?
I consider them both nu metal and hardcore. They have elements of both, but I mean, like technically speaking, they are a hardcore band, that just so happen to have hip hop elements, which makes it, you know. I call it
I
nu metal.
I don't disagree with you. And I fell across an interesting argument where somebody was saying Biohazard is hardcore. And then someone else came up with the counter argument, which I thought was really interesting, where they said, well, no, Biohazard isn't hardcore, and here's why. Hardcore in New York City came out of CBGB's, ABC No Rio, right? The Lower East Side.
Right.
Biohazard was the same scene as Life of Agony, Typo Negative, L'Amour's in Brooklyn, right? We should dial in Jimmy Ferrari and get his take on this. And their argument was, because that came from the Brooklyn scene, which was way more, not experimental, but they were pushing boundaries of what was accepted in that tonal, package, you really can't consider them hardcore. Where Mataleo is basically a nu metal album.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mataleo is a nu metal album. So is what was it? Not River Runs Red. It was after that was Ugly. Ugly kind of sat in the middle, but the one after that, what was the one after that? Soul Searching Sun? That was a nu metal album. The Last Life of Agony before they broke up. Yeah.
I got you.
All right, well, let's give them some more bands because I love this shit right here.
Hey, yeah, of course.
E-Town Concrete.
Oh, dude, they're totally nu metal. Like, absolutely,
How?
dude. Have you heard Renaissance? Dude.
Of course I've heard them.
I know you. My introduction to E-Town Concrete was the song Doormats, and that is a nu metal song if I've ever heard one.
Okay. Now go back to the first record. That is a hardcore record.
I won't deny that.
Yes.
But Renaissance is a nu metal record.
I would say I'm going to meet you both in the middle. I think Time to Shine's a hardcore record.
Absolutely.
What's the last record? Made for War? Right? The last one is Made for War with the brass knuckles on the cover.
Yeah.
That's a nu metal record. They transition slowly. So Second Coming,
that's a good take,
is a hardcore album. It's a lot like Machine Head, where More Things Change was a thing. And then they put out that direct they put out Burning Red, which was good, right? And then they put out Supercharger, which was terrible. E-Town went from the Second Coming to the Renaissance, which is highly, highly nu metal influenced.
Okay. More bands because
but all I will say about E-Town before we get off, they headlined Friday night at This Is Hardcore. It was like it was 2002 all over again. They did not miss a beat whatsoever. The two new songs they played sounded like they belonged on one of their old albums, and they were fucking tight. Like
so
they
good.
they were cooking. They were literally cooking on stage, and the whole place was sold out, and everybody was losing their mind. They sounded amazing.
That's awesome.
So good. All right. Band number 3, Vane FM. See? He couldn't just say nu metal.
No, I can't say that they're like just a straight up. They have so many like different elements in their music. Like they are so influenced by nu metal, hardcore, metalcore, post-hardcore, IDM and electronica, breakbeat, drum and bass music. I mean, they straight up have a drum and bass remix on one of their the 3-wheel mix of Virus Vibrance. Insanely good remix, by the way. But no, they're so eclectic. I don't like to pigeonhole that band into one genre. I respect that band way too much to pigeonhole them.
And you're not wrong. They cover so much ground that it is almost they're one of those bands, and I know this is going to be a lofty comparison. They're one of those bands like Converge, like a Meshuggah, where
That's not too lofty.
they literally do their own thing on every album. And it's basically like, look, this is just what we wanted to do. You can either get along with it or not.
Yeah, Error Zone is still perfection.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
I
right,
mean, I
no,
mean, look, I'm glad that Fleshwater is doing really well. I'm really glad for them because I think that album is great. I really do miss the like I saw Vane that headlining tour they did, and they were in the basement of Underground Arts, and it was terrifying. They were so good. And the fact that there's no in-between song stage banter. I saw the one This Is Hardcore where they headlined and they had Venom Benzo up there with them. They sounded amazing.
great band.
Venom Benzo is so talented, dude.
Yeah, he's good. He's sneaky good. He gets forgotten about. Tim, remember that song that I sent you, the Fox Lake song,
Yeah.
Blood of the Machine? He does the scratches on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his solo music too is insane. Doug sent me some of his tracks and I was just blown
Yeah,
away.
he's good. He's really good.
All right, number 4, Disembodied.
Dude, oh my God. Bro, you can't do this to me.
Oh, yes, I can.
All right, it's kind of like a situation with Earth Crisis where if I say what I truly feel, I'm going to get shot in the proverbial parking lot of the internet. So I'm just going to go and rip that band-aid off right now. Disembodied is super nu metal.
How?
Dude, the riffs are unbelievably bouncy. Like, I mean, it's nu metal in the most raw sense, you know. Like if what is that EP? If God only knew the rest were dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
I see where Orion's coming from, but I almost think you got to view it 180 degrees, where
Yeah.
they're not new metal, but that sound that they did, everybody in new metal heard
pioneer.
and ripped
Yeah.
it off and said, "Yo, this is awesome. We
It's-
need to do this."
Let me rephrase. It's nu metal by proxy because I promise you, every single band that uses drop B or drop A bounce riffs stole the riff from like Blood Rain
Yeah.
and like
Yeah,
Heroin Fingers.
I understand that fact, but that they are not a new metal band.
No, but they influenced an entire lifetime of bands that maybe
Yeah.
either didn't know or would never admit to it. But I had Joe Hardcore said in an interview, speaking of Disembodied, which I think was one of the most brilliantly insightful remarks he ever made. He said, "Knocked Loose is basically disembodied riffs with Brothers Keeper vocals,"
Yeah.
and
And
I
have
never heard
split
that
CD too.
comparison, and I kind of went, "Ooh, he's not wrong. He's
And
not
it's
wrong."
funny, and it is funny because they did do a split.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
oxymoron split. I actually have it on my shelf right down there.
Yeah.
It's a great split too, by the way.
So,
Like-
speaking of another band that's new metal influence, I don't think they would ever admit it, but they're on the massive come up is Knocked Loose. Like there were people losing their
Oh,
minds
yeah.
for them at Slipknot. I saw the sold out tour they did where they headlined. They just announced that tour they're doing with Drain and Military Gun and the band that nobody has heard of, The Garden. Tim, you know what we should do? We should go and see if we can rent a condo for the weekend right across from the Stone Pony summer stage. And instead of going to the show, we'll just get a shore place. It's in October. It's out of season. And we'll just hang out from the balcony and watch a show. That would be fucking great.
That would be
That would
great,
be
actually.
that sounds awesome.
But yeah, they crushed that. They crushed that Slipknot show. There were
Yeah.
tons of people losing their minds, like the typical, "Hey, who's the first time seeing us?" And I just think, and shout out to them. Brian Garris posted a picture on Instagram earlier where it's him and his parents outside MSG. And he said, "I cannot believe that I am however many years old and my parents who have been my biggest supporters are now going to get to see me tonight play Madison fucking Square Garden." Like that is
That's wild.
good for them. That is
Yeah,
Good for
great
unreal.
them.
that.
No, that's amazing. Knocked Loose has always been really cool. So
Yeah,
that's definitely really good to see.
So amazing. And then, yeah, I actually think that next album is going to be even more abrasive because I think
Oh,
now they're going to
dude,
really
yeah.
push the sound and see what they can do with it.
All right, band 5, Candiria.
Yeah, that's also oh man, that's another hard one. Also, I'm sorry to circle back. I want to make one more point about Disembodied. I have heard so many bands rip off the riff to Dislocation.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, but Candiria, again, it's another band like Vane where they have like so many influences. Like, well, for one, their drummer is like a trained jazz drummer, and he's incredible. His name slips my mind at the moment, but and also like Charlie Coma is a vocalist. He's a great MC as well. Like there's a song on 300% Density where it's just a straight up hip hop song, and there's also a straight up jazz song on that record too. I think it's Constant Velocity is the same as Being at Rest, I think is the song. But there's new metal elements within most of their discography, and also their comeback album from 2004, What Doesn't Kill You. There's a lot of
Oh
really
yeah.
good groove and melodic elements on that
Yeah.
record that are very reminiscent of that 2000 sound.
I
But at
will
the end of
agree
the
with
day,
that though.
yeah, at the end of the day, I think that Candiria is like way too eclectic to be pigeonholed as both a hardcore band or a new metal band, because they've been doing the hip hop influence stuff all the way, back when like songs like Faction or like Mathematics or whatever. What is that
Hmm.
freaking record called, man?
Surrealistic Madness was the first one, and the second one was the
Surrealistic
Coma
Madness.
imprint.
No, Coma Imprint was the
Uh,
re-recording album that
Beyond
came out.
Reasonable Doubt.
Yeah.
Yes, that one. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I mean them records, like I just hate when people are like, "Oh, they're a new metal band." I'm like, "How?"
No.
It's
Yeah, I got to
impossible
agree
to
with you on that
pigeonhole
one.
that's the crazy talk to me.
Well, they're
And
one of those
it's
bands like Orion nailed it. They do something so unique and so different with so much in the melting pot that
No, there's not a single band that does
you
what
can't even
Candiria
describe
does.
them. You just what's Candiria sound like?
They just sound like
Candiria?
Candiria.
but
Yeah.
you have to sit here and think though, who do bands tour with? That's a big indicator of what, people consider bands. Because Disembodied was never touring with like bands like say Korn or something. They were touring with hardcore bands. They were on hardcore
Yeah.
labels. They were, you know what I mean?
Well, they were also on Century Media, which is odd.
Who? Candiria?
Candiria, yeah,
Yeah,
300%
yeah.
Density came out on Century Media.
Well, that was when Century Media was pushing the limits there because Century Media nowadays they sign. I mean, who did they just sign? No, that was Roadrunner that signed Static Dress. I mean, Century Media is signing a lot of wild bands right now. I mean, what do you have? Snuffed on
Yeah.
Sight or is it Peeling Flesh? One of them.
Feeling
Snuff,
Flesh.
really?
I think Peeling Flesh is actually unique leader.
Snuffed on
Let's
Sight
see
is
here.
on Century Media? What?
Let's see
One
here.
of them slam bands just got signed to Century Media. I
I'm
forget who
pulling
it
up the
is.
artist page right
Oh, it's
now,
obviously Infectious Jelking.
which is fucking insane in of itself.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Let's see here.
Lacuna Coil. Lacuna Coil's always been on. Uh, I love them, by the way.
Three Teeth.
Fucking love Lacuna Coil.
Absolutely, dude.
While you guys are looking, dude, I don't know how you feel about Mushroom Head. Their new record is amazing.
Is it really?
So good. Yeah. I was
Huh. I'm
just
gonna have to
listening
check,
to it
dude.
before we came on.
I am a die-hard Mushroom Head fan up until The Righteous and the Butterfly. Then they lose me after that. I'm sorry, man. I was not
Yeah.
really that big into what was that record called? A Wonderful Life.
That record has like 4 good songs on it. I agree.
Yeah,
But the
I
new one
wasn't like.
is fantastic.
Well, I'll definitely give it a listen because I definitely don't want to like throw any mud on that band. They've been with me through some of the darkest times, and I've always gonna like do freaking self-titled Super Buick M3 13XX Save Your Sorrow. Just
Yeah. 13 is one of the best
oh,
records of all time. I don't care what anyone
absolutely.
says.
I really am happy that you agree with me because I'm always singing the praises of that record. It's beautiful. And one of my favorite new metal albums of all time, right up there, The War of Art by American Head Charge, too. Like, I found that around the same time, and it's just, I think those records are perfection,
Yeah, that is a
literal
good record.
perfection.
Jay, give me some more bands to ask to
Ask
that
Orion if
get
they're new
labeled
metal or not.
new metal. And you know why I think most of these bands get labeled new metal, and Ryan already said it. It's the bounce and the groove. I understand it, but like you have to go back to when these bands first came out and where they're from and what they've accomplished back then, just in the scenes they were in.
Yeah.
Like I just hate when people lump stuff in for some reason, and I know it's one of the stupidest things to get bothered by, but
No,
it
I
just
get it.
bothers
It's
me for
something
a
you're
certain
passionate
reason.
about, man. I get it. I get kind of angry when like people like to pigeonhole bands too, and I know I'm super guilty of that. And even on this episode, it's like new metal nowadays, it's like so influential to the point it's like you cannot listen to like modern heavy music, at least in the mainstream, without hearing like something reminiscent
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
bands, you know.
absolutely. And I will 100% agree with that. It's just like, shit, 1999, you see Disembodied at fucking the Kill Time. It's like nobody in that crowd was saying, "Oh, this is new metal."
Well,
Nobody was
no,
saying
no, no,
that.
no, absolutely not. But like to say that Disembodied, like, okay, so I don't know if this band has like gotten big enough in like the online circles to like for you guys to have gotten to them. But do you know Datura's Embrace?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay, they're a local band from here in Orlando. I'm friends with one of the members, and like he goes on Instagram Live sometimes, and like dude's wearing a Disembodied beanie with a Korn Adidas shirt and a ball chain, and they're like one of those throwback metalcore bands. You know, they sound like Poison the Well more than anything, and it's I mean, one great band. Definitely go listen to them. They just put their demo out, really good stuff. But they're new metal influenced, and they're very unashamed about it.
Oh, look
Here's
at
a
look at
Yeah,
look
here's
at the
another
stuff from
one
the
for you.
UK, Tim, that we've talked to, like the guys James from Starved,
Yeah.
right? And Harvey from Graphic Nature. We're lining them up to come back on again. Like that, they're gone are the days of it's new metal. I'm embarrassed. No, it's
yeah.
like fuck yeah, I love new metal. I love fucking System of a Down.
You ever
Yeah, I
tried
mean,
getting
like,
any of the
yeah.
guys from Body Web on?
Mm-mm.
No.
They're another UK new metal like hardcore like fusion band that's kind of like made waves for a little bit. They're also really cool.
I like that name though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Body
Oh,
Web.
we're gonna have to check
Yeah,
it
it's
out.
dope.
Like, all right, well, I had another band in mind. They only put out, what was it, 2 records, and they haven't been out in a while. They just did. The brother is in the band Head Cave. What the hell is that other band called?
Oh, freaking oh, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Strange. They
Yeah.
put out their record Strangers Only, and then they put out the
Yeah,
other
My Ticket
record,
Home.
My
My
Ticket
Ticket
Home.
Home. Yeah, My Ticket Home, like I think even they've said that they're like very new metal influence. Like if you go back to Unreal, I think that's what that album's called.
Unreal is amazing.
Yeah, Strangers Only is the what is that one? Thrush. Thrush is that
Yeah,
song.
Thrush. Yep.
That song is like straight up just new metal vibes for days with the phased out guitar leads and stuff and the vocals having that Jonathan Davis-esque rasp. The influence is like on the sleeves, like it's crazy.
Yeah, I'll let that band slide, but it's like some of these bands I'm just like
That's
I
part
can't
of
get
that
behind
Can
it.
we take a moment to appreciate how one of Disembodied's first US tours was with Overcast and a 14-year-old Chad Gilbert singing for Shai Hulud. Orion, imagine you like de-aging by that many years, and then you telling your parents, "Yeah, I'm going on tour. I'm going to live out of a van with a bunch of dudes
That's
for a month."
unbelievable. And then yeah, I'm one of part of the a member of one of the most legendary hardcore bands ever.
Yeah, your mic has dropped
Yeah,
like
you
8
your
dB.
volume dropped off.
But I mean, is Shai
Is this
Hulud?
better?
Yeah,
That's
there you
better.
go.
Okay, sorry. There's a manual attenuation
No, you're
thing
fine.
on this
Yeah.
mic. That's my bad.
Shai Hulud's a Florida band, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. South
And
Florida hardcore.
an amazing one at that.
Yo,
Oh,
that first
dude.
album, I don't fuck with anything past that first album, but there was that reunion show they did where they actually filmed it in black and white and Chad Gilbert sang for them. And it was unbelievable. That was one of the first albums that I was like, one of the first true hardcore albums I picked up where I went, holy shit, like this is something else. And then,
Dude, Set Your Body Ablaze is one of the best
Yes.
tracks ever made.
Heat upon heat
upon
heat.
I
No,
don't remember that.
I think that's the intro sample. They did have it. I don't know.
The riffing in that song is just fucking incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude.
Dude, speaking of South Florida, I know we're talking about new metal here, but South Florida's hardcore scene has been one of the best scenes ever, in my opinion. Consistently one of the best scenes in hardcore. I mean, what do we have here? Remembering Never. I mean, come on, dude, until the end.
Remembering
there's
Never,
so
Until
many
the
good
End,
bands.
Poison the
Dude.
Well, all that eulogy stuff,
Didn't
right?
somebody recently pass away that was in Remembering Never?
Yeah, Mean Pete passed away.
Mean
Yeah.
Pete, yeah. Freaking rest in peace, man.
So
I will tell you at Timid, This Is Hardcore, one of the along with Balmora, I actually think one of the best sets that night was Domain. Domain
okay.
was unbelievable.
Domain is super rad. There's a lot of really sick modern hardcore bands. I don't really like keep up with like the locations of like the bands or whatever. I just like keep tabs on certain ones.
Well,
The one I
you're in a good place for hardcore because Orlando has
yeah.
always been a hotbed for
That's
hardcore
about as
bands.
far south as they go, right,
Honestly,
Orion?
a lot of the bands calling themselves hardcore in our scenes nowadays are just like beat down bands calling themselves hardcore. A lot of it kind of sounds the same. Like our new metal and deathcore scenes are way better than our hardcore scene right now. Like there's bands like Counting Bodies and Nail Wound and there is one really cool hardcore band I will shout out, and it's not just because one of my long-term childhood friends is the vocalist. Fear the Light, shout out. Good
Okay.
shit. Hunter Kashagan, if you're watching, hi. Um, no, cool bands, man. But yeah, no, our scene is really cool. There's a lot of like new metal activity too, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I Orlando has a lot of they had a lot of great venues down there. I mean, that's a
No,
great
there's still
scene down
cool
there, man.
venues. There was the Haven Lounge. It's called the Conduit now. But we have the Social, we have the Beecham, we have, the House of Blues and Hard Rock venue and whatnot. And you get a bunch of bands coming through there. I think even Ministry and KMFDM was at Hard Rock not too long ago. I really wish I saw that show.
Ministry is one of those bands I keep telling Tim we need to see them before Al finally kicks over. But their Ministry and Filter are opening for Alice Cooper and Rob Zombie. And part of me was like, we should go. It's in Camden. We could sit outside, lawn seats. But Ministry they were just in the studio and it was with Paul Barker. So I have a funny feeling they're going to do one last
Oh,
album of those two together. And if they do like a final greatest hits tour, fucking
I
I'd
sign
be
me
going,
up,
man.
man.
From what I heard, Jay, is that the reason they're in the studio is they're redoing a lot of the old material. Not all of it.
Like like pre
Like
With
pre
sympathy
Rape and
and
like
Honey.
with
which old?
sympathy, yes. I heard that they're doing a lot of re-recordings of some of them songs, and then they're going to do the record. That's what I was told, because I was
Interesting.
also told that he's going to do a with sympathy tour. That's what I was told.
I would
He's
go
been
see
talking
that.
about that for a long time, though.
But I
I
think it's
think
in fruition right
his
now.
his remember he used to be real sore and salty about it. He didn't want to talk about Twitch. He didn't want to talk about with sympathy. He didn't want to acknowledge it. Now I think with time he's kind of mellowed out to the idea of, I had some fans that really like that stuff. And again, I'm going to say it
Yeah.
again. I say it almost every other episode. If you haven't read Al Jurgensen's book, everybody watching and listening, you need to go read that book. He is an unbelievable storyteller. There are times you will literally laugh out loud reading this book. It is
I
insane.
my Probably my favorite musical autobiography.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's incredible. I've
So
I told the story before where Jay told me to read it. I got it. I brought it to work one day and I sat in my car from 12 to 4:30 and read about three-quarters of it because I just couldn't put it down.
it's that good.
Oh,
It really
awesome.
is that good. And
I'm gonna have to check it out.
he's funny. Like how he tells his stories are really funny.
Oh, his
Like
interviews are hilarious. Dude's a blast.
he's
And
definitely somebody who's reached a point in his life where he really does not give a shit. He's just going to say what he thinks and
I'll say the
take it
one
as you will.
part. I'll say the one part when we get done recording because I don't want anyone to get offended and cry and blah blah. But it's
Oh
fucking
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. There was something else I wanted to ask Orion about. It was a Florida thing. Shit.
I love how this episode has basically just become let's dissect Orion's brain for an hour.
I love it. That's basically what it was the
Trying to
whole time
think. What
anyway.
was I? It'll come to
You
me
know,
as soon as we hit stop recording. I'm
and
gonna
I'm
go.
glad you said that because here's the thing. Me and Jay is, a little bit older than me. I just hit 40. You're what? How old are you again? 22?
I just hit 21 a
All
few
right,
months
so
ago.
all right, so
Jesus.
you're just turned 21, which is absolutely crazy. I wish I just turned 21. But here's the thing. It's cool to get your mind into this because we're old heads and we're just like we hate everything. Like I hate when the fucking wind blows
No, that's
at this
fair.
point in my
I get
life.
it.
So it's like it's good to get your perspective on stuff, especially in the new metal genre, because we're not really like, yeah, we know the bands and stuff, but like we're not really hip to all this stuff anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Jay's dealing with puppy drama. I'm over here, my back hurts from sitting here. It's like
Look,
Yeah.
man, I'm 21. I've already got bad knees and a bad neck. Like I'm basically an old soul trapped in a newer body, man. But no, like I grew up just obsessed with that stuff, man. Like my earliest memories, like good memories at least, are of like listening to Evanescence in Linkin Park and Cryo Shell, on my dad's old Windows XP compact, HP
Oh my
compact,
God.
you know through like the really shitty, dingy, yellowed out Logitech speakers.
Oh, hey, I still have
I
a pair of
do.
them.
Do you
Yeah.
realize that Orion could literally be my son? I
Oh
am
yeah,
old enough that he
absolutely.
could
Oh,
be
that's
my
a
son, and we
scary
could be
thought.
going to Limp Bizkit together, which is
Well, you
insane.
got to think. I'm only
Um,
19 years older than him, so he could be mine
I'm
too.
just saying, if you invite
technically,
me, I won't say
I
no.
Yeah.
I do want to give a shout out while we're talking about it to the moderators over at r/slash new metal, where
Absolutely.
they put together that one post where they said, okay, enough everybody with the low. They literally called it low effort posting. And he said, if we see those, what are your thoughts on blank? We're going to delete it. If
Yeah.
we
The
see the
tier
whole
lists
album
as
tier list,
well.
we're going to delete it. And the remark was, it was done in a very politically correct, smart way where they basically came out and said, look, this is low effort shit. It doesn't drive any dialogue. So we don't want to encourage that. I will say, I've been lurking for a while. I post under our account. I have my own account. I post under New Breed. But there has been a lot more. You know what I've noticed is a lot more people actually going to shows and talking about it, which is really kind of cool to see. There's a lot more people saying, "Hey, I went to the Slipknot show, or I went to this, or I got tickets to Corn coming up in the fall." And that's cool to see.
Yeah,
It really is cool to see. It's not
it's
just
so
people.
dope.
No offense. There's a place for everybody. And fandoms and whatnot. But it's not just people posting, "Hey, look, I just bought the Fear Factory
Yeah.
remix
And
CD." It's people actually actively trying to support the stuff
which
that
is
they like.
awesome.
Yes.
And it's like certain like there's bands like people like one of my friends Haley was telling me, "Oh yeah, no, the Taproot show I went to." Taproot. Yeah, they're
Mm-hmm.
touring with Simon Says. What?
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, seriously, it's like the 2000s are just repeating themselves, man. It's like all of
Uh,
these bands that I was in like middle school when I was starting to obsess over them, like Kitty and Taproot and American Head Charge, Mushroom Head, all those bands, they're all back and like thriving. And it's like,
mm-hmm. Uh,
New
Life on
Kitty
Planet
record
Nine.
rules. Yeah.
Pete Murray
oh
just
yeah,
posted something on Instagram.
God bless Pete Murray,
I
dude.
gotta
His
reach out,
voice
man.
soothes my soul.
I want to reach out and get him on the show so we can
Please
talk
get
Ultra
him on the
Spank and all
show.
those
I will.
bands. Like Tim, you might see me fanboy out. And you might have to kick me out of the Zoom meeting because I fucking love his stuff. But yeah, all that
Well, I
stuff,
mean,
Orion, it's having a second win. Shit, I hope this isn't oversharing, but there's a particular new metal band that never got their day when new metal was a thing, and they've had a resurgence in the underground, and we get demos from them all the time on the stuff that they're working on, and it's really good. It's really good to the
Who
point
is
where
it?
Tim and I are like, you guys really need
well,
to put this out.
we'll tell you after. Yeah,
We'll tell
but
you
it's
after
Okay,
like
fair
a
enough. No, I
recording.
get you. I get you. But
but
no, back to. I just gotta say it. Pete Murray, if you're watching this, man, if like later, I freaking love you, dude. You are one of the reasons why I make music, and that low pro self-titled album is like you nailed it,
His
dude.
voice, his voice is
You're
unbelievable.
no, his voice is absolutely incredible. I will always just in ultra respect too. I gotta stop talking about it, man. I obsess over those bands, man. You should
Uh,
hear,
his
dude.
Life on Planet Nine stuff, Orion,
Oh,
is
it's cool
right.
too.
That
No,
last
I've listened
EP
to it. It's
is
awesome.
unbelievable. Like the ultimate,
is
like Tim and I think we did an episode where we were both hammered and we put that
yeah.
on, and it's just the best shit to just relax to.
Have you
So
heard his other
so
project, White Noise Owl?
Yeah, that's with
oh
Tumor
yeah,
from
yeah.
Snot. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, awesome album. Condition
Hmm.
Critical. Yeah, super good. I love anything
So
he does.
before we get out of here, give me some of the bands that people don't know that you're in the new metal scene or new metal esque, where you're just like, all right, this is really good stuff. So I'll just name one, so you kind of get where I'm going with. Like you're familiar with Drowner, correct?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so
Clinging
give
on to life.
me
Was that what it's called? I think.
Holding On to Life. Yeah.
Holding on to life. So sorry.
No, no, no. So give me like 5 bands where you're like people need to listen to right now that aren't bands that people are gonna be like, oh, I know that one because I know you know. Yeah, I know you probably know 20 of them.
I get you. In terms of like modern stuff,
Yeah,
man, that's difficult to say. Well, there's that one band from I believe Warsaw, Poland that's getting some traction, that .bhp.
we were supposed to have them on. It didn't work
Oh,
out. Yep.
really? Okay, sick.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that's cool, man.
scheduling international bands can be tough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really difficult to say because like a lot of the well, okay, I'll tell you one, and it's a friend of mine named Mabel. They have a project called Silicone Liquid, and it actually have features Gary from Memoridge on vocals.
Oh, what a surprise.
Yeah, dude's prolific. The EP that they put out is freaking great. You should check it out. It's like very impressive riffs. Mabel is an incredible guitar player, and I'm actually gonna have them on for some songs for the next Drop Spike record.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's gonna be super fun. Some other bands, man.
Remind me about a record at the end of this. We'll talk about it when we're done.
No worries, man. I got you. There's another smaller one called Fly of Change that we've had some interactions over Instagram. Seems like a super nice guy. It's another solo project. He
Oh yeah,
actually
yeah, I've heard of that. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, he recently just did a song with Jared from Head PE.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I heard that.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Oh man.
Are you
A
familiar
lot
with
of
Graphic Nature?
Yeah, no, for sure. I love the drum and bass elements that they mix in with their music, and it's extremely impressive because you can tell they actually like listen to drum and bass and didn't just slap an
Didn't
amens right
throw it
then and
in.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Good
great
point.
stuff. I'm gonna be honest, most of the like tiny bands that I know are from like the old school stuff. Ashes Like Rain is another cool band.
Yep.
That's
Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Alex, great. Yeah.
yeah, no, he's great. Yeah, you guys know a lot of the modern ones, you know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just, and me and Jay always harp on this, and it's not a bad thing. Like you young guys are just fucking talented. I mean, it's cool because, back then when me and Jay were young, it's like we didn't have this thing Dropbox where we could just send stuff to each other. You
Yep.
guys have it made, man. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had to buy bum CDs and be like, oh, this is terrible.
yeah, you guys have it made where like you guys can form a band from, and this is kind of going to go into what I'm going to talk about after the episode, but it's like you guys have it made where you could just do anything. Like your buddy Doug, he's from overseas, correct?
Yeah, he lives in the UK.
Yeah, so it's like you guys can collaborate without even meeting each other. I mean, I'm not sure if you
Oh
guys met
shit.
each other, but like,
Actually, yeah, yeah, we're gonna eventually meet one day, and we've been talking a lot more lately and writing stuff. There, it will be at least two new songs by the end of the year, if not the
oh,
record.
cool, good
It's been
shit.
slow, but also another one I gotta mention. Like, I gotta give massive props, and all of my friends are probably sick of me talking about this guy, but I'll never stop. He's not new, however, he has intentionally not promoted himself. Have you either of you ever heard of Eldest 11?
No,
Mm-mm.
So he's a friend of mine, Cutter Fiend. We talk on Facebook a lot. He's one of the no, not one of. He is the nicest musician I've ever met in my life. Extremely sweet dude. Makes extremely emotive new metal tinged like alt metal kind of shit. And he recently just put out. He surprise dropped a new album, Husk, this year. Please go out and listen to that. There's some amazing songs on there. Serum, Ugly, Closure, Yellowed, Escape, some super cool stuff that he's doing. His vocals are always really cool, and he
Okay.
has a lot of like vocal effects and whatnot, but it's really, tasteful, at least in my opinion. A lot of cool groovy riffs. But yeah, Eldest 11 has gone underappreciated for way too long.
how
And
do you spell it?
EL
ELDEST
yeah,
and then the number 11.
ELDEST. So yeah, and then the number 11. Yeah. So yeah, Eldest 11 is wonderful.
I found it. All right,
Yeah.
cool.
And there's also another band from Florida. If either of you have ever heard of the band Breathing Theory,
Mm, I like the name.
Uh,
yeah, they're
mm-mm.
cool. They put out an album last year called Artificial. It's pretty rad. They've always been pretty new metal tinged, but they're more on like that Breaking Benjamin style of like really moody alt metal,
Okay.
but
All right,
still really cool stuff to check out,
found it.
Yeah.
Throwing one back at you, Orion. Have you ever heard Blood Command?
Blood Command?
So they are a female fronted, they call themselves Death Pop from Norway.
That
They
sounds
they
familiar.
play basically,
Oh,
I
that
take it
World
as,
Domination record is so good.
yes, it's new metal influenced punk
Okay.
slash hardcore.
I've definitely
And
seen this album cover before on
they
Rate Your
wear, all
Music.
they wear is the fat three stripes. So it's all Adidas. So it is definitely like, it is in that new metal, almost funhouse adjacent side. But yeah, it's Tim, right? That album is good. And it's punk
I was
songs.
I was blown away by that record. That record has Jeff from Thursday
Nice.
on it, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Amazing record. Yeah.
Oh, you
I
sold
was
me.
I was fucking so ecstatic on that record when it came out. I kept sending in Slack, like, listen to it, listen to it.
Yeah, my buddy Horsey sent it to me. He's like, "Yo, check this out." And I got two songs in. I said, "I don't know what this is, but I really like it."
Yeah. There's a band right in that
Okay,
vein
this
right
looks
now.
right up my alley. I'm definitely gonna check that out. That looks rad.
There's a band in that vein right now that you guys should listen to, and I have it in here. They're called Monochromatic Black. They
Oh,
just
I've
put
heard of
out
them. Yeah.
they just put out an EP called Predacious. It's self-release. It's a 5-song EP. Dude, so good. I listened to it yesterday and I was like, holy fuck, man. It's very chaotic and it's very like I think it's female fronted, but dude, it's really fucking good, man.
No, I've definitely heard some hype surrounding them, and I need to check them out more because I've heard like snippets of their music, and I was like, "Ooh, okay." But
Yeah,
like,
it's good stuff.
I need to listen to that new EP, so I'll definitely put that on my radar.
All right, gents, we're starting to get off. We're gonna not getting off topic. We're starting to go long. So, Orion, I want to give you 5 minutes. What are you working on next, project wise? What can fans of the show, fans of your music, what is the next thing that you'll be releasing that you're working on?
So I'm currently in the drum tracking stages for like an 11 track full length for Drop Spike, and I'm also working on an instrumental drum and bass concept album surrounding drug addiction for my Glass Roses project called Bliss and Arrhythmia. So I'm working on both of those, which is going to take me a while. But right now I'm doing a year-long series on Instagram of my own photography where I share thoughts about mental health, life, anything that's on my mind, all while featuring nature and mostly macro photography, landscape photography, that kind of stuff, because that's also one of my biggest hobbies other than music. So follow me at Oriiion with 3 eyes underscore official. So definitely check there. You can just search Oriiion Stevens on Instagram. You'll find it. It's like an orange-ish profile picture.
All right.
Yeah, and also just like hit me up on Instagram if you ever want to talk. I'm chill. So just we're all good
Good
there.
shit, man.
Awesome.
I
Awesome.
just looked on Instagram and I'm already following you, so we're good.
Rad. Awesome.
Fantastic. So, Orion, I want to thank you for coming on once again. I want to thank all of our watchers, all of our listeners for tuning in, watching, and listening once
Absolutely.
again. New episodes every Wednesday, new reaction vids every Friday. New Breed underscore podcast on both Twitter and Instagram, newbreedpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to leave a voicemail how much you love us or hate us, 267-297-4627. We will see you in the funny pages. Until next time, New Breed saying cheers.
Later.